Glass Hour believes in giving back and giving credit where credit is due. Our number one goal is to make a difference. The music you hear on the Smoking Glass Hour comes from Purple Planet Music. They can be found at www.purple-planet.com. Go check them out.
We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday night's live talk show. We know that today has been a very, very busy day. And we know that a lot of things are going on in and around the country as well as the world. So we want to make sure that we do all we can while we can to help make a difference in our lives, in our communities, in our state, and around the broad. We want to make sure that everybody have the opportunity to have their voice heard. So that is exactly why we create a climate where anybody that's out there doing something in their respective community, they have the opportunity to come on and talk about what it is they are doing. Because we know, we always talk about mainstream media. And we know that mainstream media's number one goal is to distort and divide. So we try to make sure that we allow everybody the same opportunity. So tonight we will be talking about Reality Check with Jeff Poster. Jeff is the author of Reality Check, a catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jeff Poster. Jeff, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, Baron. Nice to be here.
Jeff, just before we get into the actual conversation, tell us exactly who Jeff is and what Jeff is about in 2016.
Sure, but before I do, I just want to emphasize the point I make in the book, because, as you know, I published it under a pen name, Pivot, and part of the reason I do that is to emphasize the point that it's about the ideas. Mm-hmm. In fact, I have a great quote I took from Thomas Paine where he says, about his own work, he says, "Who the author of this production is wholly unnecessary to the public, as the object for attention is the doctrine itself and not the man." So, with that said, I have, and sometimes people say to me, "Who are you to write such a book? No one's even heard of you." I say, well, it's kind of like if a lawyer goes into a court, he has to put scientific experts on the stands for certain cases to prove a point. He doesn't have to be the expert to have the expert's testimony come into the public, Mm-hmm. But I have a bachelor's degree in political science, and I have a website called StopLittering.com. And although the website itself is in no way directly related to my book, certainly has a similar theme involved, which is combating apathy.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, Jeff, you said something, it's about the ideas. And you chose to use, quote-unquote, a code name. I venture to say that you are more comfortable being the unknown citizen, but allow the ideals and the goals to be received by those that are out there to inspire and encourage them to get involved. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, so when we look at Jeff Poster, author of Reality Check, a catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral, what allowed you, why did you come up with that particular title? And from that point on, we'll get off directly to the interview. What made you think about a catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral? And tell us what you feel humanity's downward spiral is.
Well, Noam Chomsky was one of several authors, him in particular, that had my thoughts really geared to the notion that we are on a downward spiral. His quote, which I read about a year before I came up with the idea of writing the book, he says, "You can see a lot of things that are wrong, small changes you can propose, but to be realistic, substantial change will require profound democratization of the society and the economic system."
Mm-hmm.
Bold statements. And it got me thinking, like, well, if Noam Chomsky, who's considered the world's foremost intellectual, is saying it has to get that profound to reverse things, yet he is evidently not capable of making that happen, or whatever that takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, then I guess it's not going to happen, and the downward spiral will continue.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he wasn't the only one saying that type of thing. Plenty of scientists and so on, and anyone with common sense. So, with that in mind, in the back of my head, a few other things gelled. And one in particular, the crux of the whole literary device, I like to call it, is the opening quote I have on the first page by William James, where he says, it's about an essay called "The Will to Believe."
Mm-hmm.
States that if we believe in the possibility of some future event taking place, then this belief increases our power to help make the event happen when the time comes for action. I actually came across that quote after I was halfway through writing the first version of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, exactly. That gives the whole book so much credibility to have a guy like William James, considered a very well-known philosopher.
Uh-huh.
To have him there, that cemented like I said, a pillar of credibility. And then I say, well, the whole theme of the book is like a literary device based on that statement that, like lots of movies do. You always just have to say, all right, well, I believe it can happen, prove me wrong, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's no reason to let the belief part be the obstacle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When we look at, you use the word, which it appears that, I'm not saying that it's lost, but I am saying that it's not utilized as much as it used to be years ago. You use the word common sense. Do you feel, Jeff, that nowadays in 2016, do you feel that people are still using their common sense when it comes to the downward spiral of humanity itself? And if so, what are some of the things that you'd like to look at with regards to inspiring, encouraging, and motivating people to become a catalyst themselves to help reversing humanity's downward spiral?
Well, there's two kinds of people in the world. Those that know what I'm saying is obvious and has been obvious, and then there's people who think global warming isn't real, and everyone in between. So part of my book is about saying to those who already understand just how precarious things are getting, I'm saying here's a way to sort of get some leverage to both educate and inspire. And really, the breakdown of your question is that I hate to be disparaging, but there's stupid and there's ill-informed.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
Of course, and a combination of both. And I sent out a tweet earlier, a great picture I found, that says McDonald's says they cannot afford to raise wages, yet they give a $20 billion payout to the shareholders. So, had they given a $5 per hour raise to every single employee without a price increase, the shareholders would still have received a $16 billion payout.
And Jeff, while you're making that specific reference, can you say it one more time? Because I want to make sure that those who are listening now and those who go back to the archive, that they don't hear just one time, they hear it twice because, see, Jeff, we try to get people to understand and step outside of the box, step outside of the norm. And you just hit a nail on the head because we talked about the last couple of days about the homelessness, and you're specifically referencing McDonald's, and we've asked, you know, with regards to the foods, and we know that there are regulations and things like that, but when there's food that's there that they're going to throw away, they can do the same thing that you just said with this $20 billion shit. So say that again for us, if you don't mind.
Sure. McDonald's says they cannot afford to raise wages, yet they give a $20 billion payout to shareholders, probably 100 guys or less. Had they given a $5 per hour raise to every single employee without a price increase, the shareholders would still have received $16 billion payout. So that means, let's expand upon that. You could have given them $20 an hour raises, and the shareholders still would have done very nicely. Think of what that does when you expand that to the economy, all the spending power, and it's that simple to solve all of our economic problems.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeff,
right?
Exactly. So, when we look once again and use this term, common sense, and I like to coin the establishment. When you look at mainstream media, which is controlled by 90% six corporations. When you look at the Democratic Party, the far left, the Republican Party, the far right, known as the establishment, do you feel that the establishment does not exercise common sense? And if they don't, do you feel that they are actually contributing to humanity's downward spiral?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, a great analogy I use in the second part of my book is from a story I saw sometime on TV where these teenagers crashed in the desert of Nevada. They were okay, but they were in the desert without much water. And this one girl happened to have done a report on survival in the desert. And she said, you know, we shouldn't just save the water for later. We need to drink more of it now. The one dude who was like, I know what I'm talking about. What the hell do you know? We're going to save the water for later. And she said, look, there are many cases of people who said we got to save the water for later. And those people, if they don't start to realize you can't eat your money, you still need air and water, et cetera, and if they don't start applying, you know, the system differently, then they're going to be feeling it, period. Simple.
So, and again, I like to, you know, coin things from individuals. So we'll stick on common sense for a period. Again, reality check. And now I'm seeing exactly what your goal was, which to me is really simple. I believe, Jeff, that as one or two things happen, either we inform some or we remind others, and I think that's what the reality check standpoint is. So, and when we look at the driving force for reversing humanity's downward spiral, let's look at global warming itself. We know that something is taking place. Okay, now, whether the establishment, right or left, decides that they want to continue down this 200-year path of destruction, or they want to change the ways of thinking, the stinking thinking, and do what you're talking about, reversing humanity's downward spiral, and that's exactly what it appears. Do you feel that people are underestimating, in your opinion, based on your political background and the book itself, they are underestimating global warming, pollution, and all of those things?
Well, you say people, of course, you know, there's some people who do and some people that don't. And I think there's plenty of people who are starting to worry that, well, according to the scientists, it's almost impossible for us to revert things as fast as possible. And I get kind of gloomy myself when I think about it. But then I think I saw a guy on TED Talks who said organic farming is a way to take a whole lot of carbon out of the atmosphere. I mean, obviously on a grand scale, but it's doable. And of course, you combine that with all the renewable energies that are available, perhaps, you know, there's still time. So I like to believe the technologically we can make it happen, but the other parts still remain to be seen. So.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if you're trying to talk to the millennials, as well as the baby boomers. What is it that you would specifically like to say to them with regards to getting involved and let's change the ways of thinking so we can minimize this downward spiral?
Well, I mean, best case scenario, we convince the people with all the control of the wealth and what we're doing with renewable energy potential to say, oh, we need to actually take the trillions we're hoarding overseas and subsidize the hell out of renewable energies and all these other potentials, or else, we're all going to be feeling it. And that's one way to go about it. And, of course, the other way is to say, we'll take control of the government, undo the oligarchy, as Bernie is trying to do, and figure out a way to get money out of politics and the media, and then common sense approaches that acknowledge reality and Mother Nature and justice, et cetera, et cetera. These aren't original ideas. It's just a matter of getting the leverage back politically and waking people up. A lot of Bernie people are Republicans or ex-Republicans or whatever. They recognize he's for the average Joe, and the regular things that affect them, he's going to help them with. And my point being, it's possible to educate people if you just find a way to capitalize on the power of the podium. And of course, someone like the president, he's got the power of the podium 24/7. Other people, you have to write a book, get on radio, or have a T-shirt called StopLittering.com.
Well, I'll tell you that's one of the things that I don't think some people grasp. It appears that the big time executive, the CEOs, Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, and some of those other people that are out there, they control the topic, they control the tempo, and they control just about everything. So here we are, 2016. We have a man coming forward like Senator Bernie Sanders. With regards to some of what he is talking about, do you feel that he understands basically what you're talking about, the reality check and the catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral? And if so, talk to us about that a little.
Well, certainly he understands it. That's why so many people like me are wildly excited about how articulate he is, and more particularly, I think he's very good at controlling the conversation when he's on television. The other day there was a diary on Daily Kos highlighting how he just turned that thing around and explained so well why universal Medicare for everyone would make perfect sense mathematically as well as everything else. And it was like, wow, how come we've never heard it put so simply and well? And I've always emphasized that if you really wanted to control the conversation, if you were the president, you could say during the State of the Union address, here's what I'm going to do, and here's why. If anyone in Congress has a problem with that, stand up and say so right now, right here. We're going to talk about it in public.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the president, but I came up with a way that I thought could gain a lot of traction. If I had a lot of money, I tried to engage with people on the right who are hard to get through.
Right.
Whether Yahoo chat room or Twitter or whatever. And honestly, the stupidity and ignorance is just so beyond. I'm sure you've encountered it doing what you do, but it just never ceases to amaze me. The stupidity and ignorance that comes from people, the depth of it is scary and sad and stunning. But I still attempt sometimes to, like my way with getting through about global warming is I say, do you understand why plants grow so much better in a glass house? And see what happens, because maybe that'll get through. But one of the things I would love to think that way, but just average Joes without a lot of money, it's like they give you $100 to be part of a 2-hour debate on YouTube. There's two conditions, though. If you want to keep the money, you have to, if I've asked you a yes or no question, you have to answer yes or no. And if I ever say stop talking, you have to stop talking. Because I was on the radio at one time with Sean Hannity, because he was doing the show at the Dogwood Festival. Long story short, he invited me up on stage, and he didn't like what I had to say. He just told me to leave, basically.
Right.
I don't care what you have to say.
Right.
And I realized, well, he controls the conversation.
Exactly.
If he was a good guy with good ethics and was professional, he would have a fair conversation. But he's not. He controls it. And if I could have, my point being is that if I could control the conversation and force him or these other people online, that they change the dialogue and jump tracks and don't answer you directly. But if I could force them to have to play by fair etiquette, then we might get somewhere. and you put it on YouTube, I think it'd be very, very interesting.
Well,
Barring that, maybe.
I'll tell you, no, Jeff, we can do that here. And you just proved what I've been saying for broadcasting for 3 years. See, when you go on mainstream media, they control the topic, they control the tempo, they control everything. And the very moment you get off the mark, they try to eliminate you by getting you off the air or whatever the case may be. And you see here, what we do is, even if we disagree, we still try to allow those other voices that are out there, because we believe and feel that when you come to the voices of reasoning, when you sit down at the table, you can actually learn something from somebody who is totally opposite and different than you are. So I like what you said. And see, we have a format where we can do live video on a Blab, where up to 4 people can come in video. People can listen in live. People can chat in the live chat room. And you can do just like you're doing now. Control the tempo and get your message out. And that's what we've also been trying to tell people, that within the next 5 or so years, broadcasts like this one and others that are out there, we hope that they surpass mainstream media controlling what people hear and what they don't hear. Now, again, you talked about global warming, and I don't think, and if you can expound on it a little, you can if you choose. I don't think, Jeff, that many people really understand the terminology. They don't understand the term. So when it comes to what you're doing, how would you explain global warming with regards to reversing humanity's downward spiral? Because I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, if global warming is not one of those downward spiral incidents that's occurring right now.
Well, how would I convince those people? I mean, I like to believe that it's possible to make progress without them believing it. We have people that are just going to take charge of the politics and the economics, and they'll just have to, enjoy the benefits of that without being part of it. I'd like to, like I said, I mean, I heard a guy on the radio the other day who was spewing that nonsense that it's global warming is left theology, left-wing mythical, whatever, and he brought up volcanoes of the past, and he, in the course of the conversation, the host pointed out that those volcanoes really altered the climate and the atmosphere. And this guy, he made one of the refrains I hear all the time from the right. Who are human beings to be able to affect the earth on such a grand scale? Arrogant of us to believe that. I hear that all the time from these people. It's like, do you not understand how many damn people there are and how long we've been here? But when she brought up the volcano in context, she finally started to make realize, oh, well, maybe if the same thing is on a smaller scale, then the point is the science actually is still there. Carbon dioxide from a volcano or human beings is what will cause that effect. And, he actually started to stop talking. It's the first time I ever heard silence. So, all I can do is engage people and see what happens and be forced them to play by proper debate rules.
But let me ask you this, Jeff, because, I find when dealing with other people that do not share the philosophy that you share. And what I can't understand is why do people, they know obviously that something is taking place. Why do they continue to just, I guess, just push it to the side? And I'm not sure it's ignorance or it's just intentional ignorance to where they don't want to be wrong and they don't want everybody else to be right. So how do you deal with this on a daily basis? And when we look, like I said, again at the book, tell us some of the digest of the book and your goals and objectives when you wrote this book with regards to getting it out to the public, trying to get the public to understand what's going on, and at least sit down and have a common sense type of conversation, even if there's going to be some fundamental discourse.
Well, just as the saying goes, to get everybody on the same page, and the expression "preaching to the choir." It's like, well, what if there was, like, when you go out, you keep making these generalizations. I don't mean it in no bad sense, but we all know that it's just a guessing game exactly to figure out what percent of people do we need to convince? What percent are completely beyond hope? What percent have enough sense that they're not? I'm not telling anything that they don't already know, and all you can do is hope and try to communicate the best you can, and little by little, people are going to come around.
Right.
But after that,
but I'll tell you, Jeff, when you look at, and like I said, I really don't unless we have to. But when you look at the establishment and the elite, from those who are in the know, or those who are well, let me back up. Those who are part of the 1%, it appears that they just do not want to be wrong. They don't want to listen to nothing that you say. They don't want to give you credit or credibility without trying to paint you as some type of outsider or some type of delusional person. So how do we do it from a progressive movement standpoint to continue to get this topic and this conversation energized, mobilized, so people can actually join the conversation like tonight, get involved, and help you talk about this type of thing so we can start changing this establishment and this stinking thinking mentality?
Yeah, I think that the establishing people at 1% or above, who are basically controlling the politics and the media that you're talking about, they can only get away with that for so long as enough people on the right who watch Fox News and believe it and like Trump, as long as enough percentage of those people are out there, they can do what they do. But once that base gets small enough, you would think they're not going to really be able to survive. Again, who knows what percentage that's going to require to get down to. But considering the way Bernie keeps seeming to get more people who lean right or lean towards Trump to listen to him and go, oh, wait a minute, Trump's crazy and stupid and doesn't have any experience, and Bernie has everything I've been ever wanting in a presidential candidate. So, yeah, some people are just crazy as crazy, and they're beyond crazy, and some people are just stupid, and or ignorant, and everything in between. And you don't know just how crazy or beyond hope they are until you engage them. But there's room for hope. When I was campaigning for Les Clark in 2004, while I was a delivery person, I would engage people left and right, and I would just try to bring out information, facts that I thought might make people who are right-wingers go, oh, really, now that I know that. And the fact I always put out there was, does it bother you that Bush said God told him to attack Iraq?
Right.
Iraq? And one woman said, oh, he didn't say that. That's not true. It's make-believe, is the way she put it. Now, that lady is ill-informed about the fact, but she has enough sense to recognize if I'm correct, that's messed up.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I'll tell you, Jeff, as you're talking, I'm sitting here monitoring different things. And here's a classic example of mainstream media trying to control and distort the message. Now, Mark Murray, NBC News senior political editor, they're posting that Clinton loses Iowa. New Hampshire means Democratic Party is split. But the actual author or the originator of the post says, I don't want to post about Hillary Rodham Clinton on here, but this is something you must read. They are trying to set things up so Bernie Sanders do not win. And once again, they know that this guy has a chance to do exactly what he set out to do, which is win. So mainstream media and the establishment, they try to put this stuff out here as if it's already has taken place. So those who are already energized and sparked to go out and vote, so they won't go out and vote. If you don't mind, Jeff, we're looking at about 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to pause for about 2 minutes. Just hold the line, mute your phone if you have to. We're going to run a few commercials, and we'll be right back, and we'll continue the conversation with Reality Check with Jeff Poster, a catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral. Jeff, just hold the line. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on the all-new #1 global radio station, WMAD. Before I do my live broadcasting, I always dine in at the all-new Main Street seafood restaurant located in downtown Columbia, Louisiana, owned and operated by Mitch Brett. Check them out. I did.
It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news.
Does Stokey Stokes sell cars that are high mileage with no warranty? Bad. Should I just give up? What if I have a co-signer? What if I still owe money on the car? What if I have a paid for trade and or money down? Can I come in? Okay. Go down and see Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers. You're thinking about going to another dealership for a better deal? Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia said, call him today at 501-952-2868, 501-952-2868, or go online at Steve Landers Kia Dealership in Little Rock. Anthony Stokey Stokes, the deal maker.
We are back broadcasting live tonight on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight's guest, Mr. Jeff Poster, author of Reality Check, a catalyst for reversing humanity's how Jeff is trying to get people aware and remind some and inform others that we have a problem here in this country, not just this country, but this world itself. So when we look at the global warming, the pollution, and all of these other things, let me ask you this, Jeff, and I believe I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to say. When we look at all of these candidates that are running for the highest office in the land, be it President, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Senator Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump and all the buffoonery, Chris Christie, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, and all of those other ones, who do you feel, in your opinion, not an endorsement, but just how you feel, who do you think would be closest to at least having a conversation, a casual conversation about the reality check and this downward spiral that we're talking about regarding humanity's disruption?
Bernie Sanders, of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do you feel that Senator Sanders himself, because from what I've seen of him, it appears that the guy is not out of touch with mainstream. He thinks outside of the box because he realizes that what is taking place has not worked. And if it has not worked for 200 years, you would think at some point somebody would want to take a new turn. And when we look at, exactly, so when we look at Senator Bernie Sanders, what is it that people that's out there listening right now, what is it that they can do themselves to get involved, spark and engage and encourage other people to get involved and support, in your case, Senator Sanders or any other candidate that's out there, preferably Senator Sanders from your standpoint?
Well, understand the message in the simplest way possible for communicating. I like to put it in two sentences. One, his campaign slogan should be Bernie Sanders for the average Joe, not the status quo.
Oh, say that again, Jeff. I like that.
Bernie Sanders for the average Joe, not the status quo.
Okay, anybody that's out there tweeting right now that's listening to Jeff, go ahead on and tweet that out there and give credit to Jeff for saying it. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, at Stop Liz is my Twitter account name.
Okay. And
also,
yeah, go ahead. Finish up what you were saying, Jeff.
You maybe forget the other one I was going to say, but Bernie Sanders. Social democracy simply means putting people before profit. That's all it means. The label is a semantics thing. Once you understand that, it's simply people before profits, and the environment is before profits, then it shouldn't be hard to make people who, oh, he's a socialist, go away, blah, blah, that stupid argument. There are people out there who are capable of having an intellectual conversation or intelligent conversation if you just give them better perspective and maybe some information like the thing with McDonald's. Well, math a first grader can understand. And also I like to point out all the time in terms of the rich people hoarding wealth and how that is what is destroying our society. That suppose you inherited. Let's suppose you won that the $1 billion lottery next week. So now you're worth $1 billion, right? And you'd be saying, well, I'm going to be able to live large. I got $1 billion. I'm going to be able to live so large for the rest of my life, help so many people in charities. This is going to be wonderful. But would you ever say to yourself, but man, if I had $5 billion or $10 billion or $50 billion, I'd really be able to live large. $1 billion is plenty, right?
Well, I'll tell you again, Jeff. You are again one of these other guests who are hitting the nail right on the hand. You're not talking and using all of these fancy words and things of that nature. You're just an average individual talking about average things with the average audience, and that's why we feel that we have to find some kind of way to energize and mobilize people like yourself and others that are out there to make sure that your voice is heard, that your message is being received, and that other people join in. And I just saw where it says Bernie Sanders for the average Joe, not the status quo, Jeff Poster at Stop Lit. And we want to make sure that we continue to put that out there, and put that out there. Jeff, let me ask you this regarding a downward spiral.
Just 1 second, I got to interject. A couple hours ago, I put a tweet on Twitter with 4 pictures that pertain to Bernie and the things I was talking about, including that McDonald's statistic. And I started a hashtag, Your Daily Burn. After I put it out there, I looked back and said, oh my goodness, it hasn't been out there yet. So if I want to attach Your Daily Burn to Bernie Sanders for the average Joe, not the status quo, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's going to take things like that, Jeff, again, because the average man or woman can understand it because it's simple terms, it's common sense, and it's allowing people to understand exactly what it is that you're talking about. Regarding the humanities downward spiral, do you feel that education and healthcare and all of those things are a part of this downward spiral? And if so, what do we need to do to reverse it?
Well, the math of reversing it is, like I was saying, you just open the floodgates instead of trickle down. You open up the dam and spread the wealth around, and now all the money is there, the energy that it's symbolic of, to get these things done. And we all know penny wise, pound foolish. That's one of the arguments of getting health care right, is that people will do preventative things instead of waiting until the last minute, which is inefficient beyond belief, not to mention sad and catastrophic. So it's just about forcing the politicians and the businesses to come on board with doing the right thing. That's why we got to get Bernie elected, right? By the way, I just got to emphasize the point you were saying a moment ago. My friend Jared read the first version of my book. Jared's the guy I quote in the book a few times. He said, I like it a lot. And then he said, it's written for stupid people. And, again, I'm not trying to, I don't like that word sometimes because it sounds disparaging.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying in terms of getting people who didn't necessarily think things deeply enough, kind of bringing it down to their level and giving them information that they didn't always have that makes them go, oh, okay, maybe I was voting against my own self-interest before.
Right.
I didn't have all the information.
Right. And I never can understand how or why people would actually vote against their own interests. But we have some who appear to be, like we said, ignorance means unaware. I want to make sure, Jeff, because we're looking at about 8:10 p.m. Central Standard Time, that you have gotten out as much of your information as possible. And if not, I will allow you the opportunity to talk specifically about something that you feel is very important that you have not been able to touch on, because I want to make sure that we've done you a service rather than a disservice. So it's in your hands.
Yeah, well, as you know, I sent you the PDF link where people can read my book for free, at least the first half of it. That's the part that's been published so far. If you want to really do me a favor and buy a hard copy so I'll make some money, I tweeted you the link to that on my at Create Space. And Reality Check is under the pen name Pivot. But you got the link for that too. And as I mentioned, my website is stoplittering.com. I have $30 bamboo T-shirts with my logo on there. And obviously, if you buy a shirt, that would make me some money. And of course, I imagine most people out here would not argue for the right to litter, because it's a bad thing. That is common sense that you don't throw your stuff on the ground, use a trash can. So if you want to help that cause and get a really awesome, comfortable T-shirt and 10% off at Moe's Barbecue, if you know one of those, then buy a T-shirt at stoplittering.com, please.
Right, and we want to make sure before the broadcast end that all of the information, all of your contact information that a person has the opportunity to hear it, share it. We'll make sure that we share it on our tweet, our Facebook, and the likes, and try to get that information out there. So we know, Jeff, that people, they're either going to be a part of the problem, a part of the solution. And it appears that you are part of the solution because you're trying to have common sense conversations with people. What are some of the hardest things that you have to deal with or encounter when you are trying to talk to people about global warming, the pollution of the air, the self-destruction that's going on, taking place here in this country right now?
Well, what frustrates me beyond belief is, in terms of battling apathy, what you're just talking about are things that are kind of beyond everyone's control on a direct level. But I'll see a trash can next to a recycling bin at work, and people will take things that we all know belong in the recycling bin, and they won't put it there. It's bad enough that people can't walk around 10 feet to do it. But when it's right there, or people will leave lights on outside during the day, and we're all talking about conservation. Our blood soldiers went to fight for oil, but we can't even make the effort to flip a switch during the day. Let alone, so how do we expect to have really big things happen that take a little bit more effort? You know what I mean? And that's frustrating that otherwise educated, intelligent people who, they're not part of they're not, right-wingers, don't believe in global warming, yet they're, kind of part of the problem in smaller ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we know that there's a group on all sides based on skepticism and the likes. But regardless as to whether there's skepticism or not, we need to make sure that, and let me back up. I often see sometimes, Jeff, in rural town America, little small towns where kids can be standing out on the road, you're just talking and conversing. And rather than them throwing the paper and things like that in the garbage, which is right beside them, they'll throw it on the ground and in other people's yards, and when the wind blows, it goes throughout the community, and when it goes throughout the community, the property value goes down and things of that nature. How can we, because to me, that's one of humanity's downward spiral, because there's no respect for the next man's property.
Don't get me started, but that's why I created a website, because one woman said to me recently when I showed her the shirt and the concept, and she said, sometimes I feel like picking up the trash at the bus stop, but I don't want people looking at me like I'm weird. I said, that's exactly the point of my website, because if you had my shirt on, they would know, oh, she's part of something. Or even if she didn't have my shirt on, but other people were doing it, or my shirts and stickers were already ubiquitous, people would know that's part of a thing, and she's not the only one doing it. And of course, it inspires more people to do it, and so on and so on. And it's just about a way of saying, we're going to stand. This doesn't have to, there's no good reason for this. And most people, they just need a nudge, a reminder, and the word is stigmatize it. And when you think about the damage and the suffering that causes to animals, it's not like somebody can make an argument against it. So, if I want to litter, I've had those arguments, and, there's no room for that. So we just have to, that's the plan. That's why I'm making StopLittering.com shirts and stickers, and that's why the website exists. So hopefully people get it and want to help me solve this problem, because the more I do the research, the more depressing it is.
Right. I'll tell you, Jeff, there's a Sherry Maddock that's out there that says that she bought a Stop Lit T-shirt and she can't wait to get it. So we know that it's out there. And Jeff, that information, if you can get it to us, direct message, or get in contact with the administrative assistant, we will be glad to help promote those shirts. And I like what you said. When you get people to get involved with a movement or with a revolution, it gives a lot of people a sense of courage, because they are a part of something. And I like how you worded it, because when you can get people to feel a part of other things that other people are doing, you can create numbers. And the more numbers we see with people wearing the Stop Lit shirt, talking about the global warming, talking about the spiral damage and the downward spiral, rather, with regards to humanity, I think the conversation at that point, Jeff, we can move it forward even further. But when we have people that's sitting down, relaxing, sitting on their sofa and recliner and just being complacent, I think we lose the options of doing the right thing. When you putting cigarette butts, that's out there. When you have kids that are driving down the road that's throwing paper out on highways and byways, and just basically disrupting and corrupting this thing called life that we have. I really feel that some of that it goes back to the lack of respect on some part, and then it goes back to the lack of discipline from the adults. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's varying degrees. Some people are going to tell. On my website, I have a little story where, even before I came up with the website, I was at a stop sign. A guy in front of me dropped a cigarette butt out the window. And I hauled out the window. You dropped a cigarette butt. He opened up his car door. And, of course, at this point in the story, everyone thinks, oh, this guy got out and threatened me or hit me. He opened up his car door, and he picked up his butt.
And I'll tell you, you are exactly right. And it appears that you have done a lot of research. Do we see down the road, Jeff, you may be running for political office and or some other books at some point?
I would much rather be the guy, like equivalent to Karl Rove, be the actual politician.
Mm-hmm.
And as for another book, let's just see what happens with this one, and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to take all the money I make from the book and the website and create a big animal sanctuary. The bigger, the better.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to end on one note that it's a fact, last fact on my Get Informed page from StopLittering.com that goes to both points of my book and the website, and it's finally, littering is symptomatic of apathy, the root of virtually all problems. So by helping to stigmatize littering, you are doing much more than simply mitigating the other problems regarding littering.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel, Jeff, that littering is it's just a problem in general, or it's a problem across the board, or it's in certain select groups? How do you feel about it? Because I want the conversation to go from one side or the other, but at the same time, I want to make sure that you put the information out and allow other people to engage at some point, whether it's in their own private club, in their own home, at the golf course, or whatever the case may be, because this conversation will continue, just like homelessness and homeless vets and things of that nature.
Right. Well, I got two great stories of personal experience. One, recently I saw a woman in a Prius with a coexist bumper sticker on her car, and she flicked her cigarette butt out the window. And, people always say, the statistics say that people who are poor and uneducated, by and large, are the worst culprits of this problem. Yet here's a woman who not only drives a Prius, but she has a coexist bumper sticker on her car, and she needs to be told not to litter. So, they're all, who knows, I would love, psychologically, I find it fascinating why someone like that needs to be told. Obviously, there's plenty of other people who don't need to be told, but, of course, there's enough people. I highly doubt if 10 people told that woman to stop doing that,
mm-hmm.
but she wouldn't stop. I think she would stop, But of course, there are some people who are going to. The other story about the guy who picked up his cigarette butt, that was actually part one. Part two was same thing happened a couple of weeks later. The woman dropped her cigarette butt out the window. I hollered, dropped the cigarette butt. She left the cigarette there, and she gave me the finger. 1 out of 2 is not bad, right?
So Jeff, do you feel that local municipalities should enforce, littering laws and pollution laws and things of that nature, and put a hefty fine? What do you think should happen?
Well, certainly there should be a law, only on principle's sake, against littering. I took a great picture one time down the road from where I live. A sign that said $50 fine for littering, and there was a cigarette can right down below it. And as I see on the website, 12 billion. To animals, put it in the context of their own money, whatever it takes to wake people up to the fact that you're part of the problem if you don't simply dispose of trash like, sensible human being who's a civilized person.
Well, let me ask you this then, Jeff. We know that we have overcrowded prison population. We know that. So why can't we utilize inmate labor to get out there on pick up this trash and help minimize the reverse in humanity's downward spiral? I mean, that seems to be common sense, don't you think?
Well, certainly that there's a reason why they do that, because the more trash that gets picked up, whether it's inmates or volunteers or paid symptom, you got to find a way to get people to stop doing that in the long term. So that's what the point of my thing is saying. As I say on the website, what inspired the idea in the first place was I was reminiscing about a day I picked up trash for 4 hours with a group from New York Care, the park. And I thought, ridiculous. The next year, I come back and do it again. And the year after that, so on and so on. And it's just, what the hell does it take to get people to recognize that we're all wasting our time doing this? And the light bulb went off, stoplittering.com. And it wasn't taken. I just felt like there's other people that make T-shirts or signs that they sold or stickers that had a message about littering. So I just feel like I found a way to encapsulate it between the name of it and the way the logo is designed by the guy. I paid a lot of money. On the website itself, I found a way to encapsulate it so well and have it a T-shirt that people would like to wear. It's very
You're kind of fading in and out. Let me ask you this final question, because we're looking at about 6 minutes left. Tell us what are the prices of your shirts, and tell us once again any contact information or where they can go out and look for the shirt. I'm going to make sure that if we get that information, which I know we have, during my broadcast, I'm going to start trying to help promote that. We're going to look into possibly some of the people that we deal with on a daily basis to get or make some orders for some of the shirts to start promoting this, not just in your area, but around the country. So you got a friend in us here at the Smoking Glass Hour, so we're going to make sure that we do. So tell us the price of it, and once again, tell us your websites and any contact information, any closing comments.
You want to stoplittering.com, bamboo organic cotton T-shirt. Go to stoplittering.com, our products page, and it's all obvious from there. They're $30. They retail for $29 blank. That's why they're $30. They're just that good of quality, and they got the great design. I have a sponsor called Moe's Original Barbecue that, there's 40 around the country. If you know one, you'll get 10% off if you wear it there. Of course, I'm trying to get more sponsors. It looks like there's a few that are going to come on board, and we'll go from there. But right now, I had $3 for shipping. You're going to get the most comfortable shirt you could ever possibly own. They also come in hemp organic cotton. Both versions come in white. The hemp version comes in dark blue, and the other ones come in yellow or heather gray or Carolina blue. Women's cuts don't come in the yellow. And the window decals are $5, and everything else I don't have in stock yet.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bernie Sanders for the average Joe, not the status quo, coined by Mr. Jeff Poster. Tonight we've been talking to Jeff about his book, Author of Reality Check, a catalyst for reversing humanity's downward spiral. Jeff, you're welcome to come back on the program to continue to get this information out there. Like I said, we're going to definitely promote it, the website along with the T-shirt itself. So when you see us tweeting your information out there, all the thing we're doing is living up to what we said. Jeff, you got any final comments that you'd like to say before we end the segment of this broadcast?
Let's just hope that Bernie Sanders becomes the next President of the United States, and that would be a wonderful thing to celebrate.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, the next hour, the 8:30 hour, 8:35, as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about Senator Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton live video on Blab. So if you're out there on Twitter, you can follow us at Baron Glass Hour, and you can listen to us live. You can join the conversation. Up to 4 people can come into the conversation and talk, along with other people tweeting and doing whatever it is that they want to do, because we believe that when we get Senator Sanders' message out there, that people will hear. And at the end of the day, starting an hour on, I believe, January the 25th, and then headed to New Hampshire, South Carolina, and all of those other places, when the delegates are counted and the smoke clear and the dust settle, we feel that it will be a non-established candidate who receives a nominee for the President of the United States from Vermont, independent, Senator Bernie Sanders. Jeff, thanks for coming on the broadcast, and thanks for participation. Much blessings to you and your book, and may the good Lord be with you, and have a nice night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, what we're going to do right now, we're going to pause briefly, run a few commercials, and then we're going to probably play a song, because we're going to switch over from the live Spreaker.com broadcast. I know Blog Talk will still be going on, so you can continue to listen on the line, or you can go directly to Blab and catch us live. We'll send out the tweet one more time, so you can, well, we'll send out the Facebook post one. So stay tuned and just pause right quick, and we're going to run a few commercials. We'll end the segment of the Spreaker.com, and then we'll go directly into the Blab. So stay tuned. We are back broadcasting live. I made an error. We're going to end the Spreaker.com and the Blog Talk radio.
Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour.
we're gonna continue to go live because we got 3 or 4 different systems going on. So just bear with us. Just hover on over. I just on this Facebook page and the Twitter page, I just sent out the information. All you have to do is click on the broadcast. I believe we're looking at about 2 minutes and 59 seconds. We're gonna go live. So have a great day and tune in to the Blab. Good night.